All right, Rebecca, thank you.
And joining us right now, we want to take a moment to speak with Ian Meyn, who is an assistant professor of law at the University of Wisconsin.
And thanks for joining us. Now, we know you've watched the video, and we just heard from the district attorney and the independent investigator who really said this was a reasonable use of force. Did the officers do what they were trained to do?
Yes, that's the problem.
So when you say that's the problem, let's talk about it. Is it a problem from a legal standpoint or a problem from a training standpoint?
I think both, actually. It's a great question. And, first of all, what does it mean in terms of is it reasonable? That's defined by constitutional law, and that's super, super forgiving. In a criminal case, you're talking about a special privilege that's given to an officer of the law that makes it very hard to prosecute. I didn't agree with how the district attorney approached this case. I didn't agree with his explanation of the case and its merits in the press, his press conference. I found it to be very much biased toward the police officer's situation. There's lots of cases in which there's a strong defense, but that doesn't stop the prosecution from bringing the case. I know I'm a defense attorney. I've been there, I've had strong defenses, and that certainly doesn't stop the prosecution from bringing it to a jury. So I found it pretty startling and different from the usual kind of approach that one would expect from a prosecutor in reviewing a case.
Well, let me jump in there, Ian, and get some more specifics from you on that, because two of the questions he said he had to look at, was this a domestic abuse case? He said yes. And two, was Jacob Blake armed? Yes. Do you agree with that approach when trying to answer those questions?
No, I don't at all.
Where did you disagree then?
Well, look, I think, how many times are we going to do this, right? Does this story sound like others? Are there going to be future situations like this where people are marching and the communities are in pain and families are left in trauma, as well as the police officer? I am sure the officer here who is involved in this is hurting. I don't think he acted contrary to the way he was trained. I see a real problem with the training. There are domestic disputes all around the world and in the United States happening right now. There's probably two people arguing in front of their kids, and maybe one of them takes their kids away in the car in anger. Does that sound reasonable? Like that could have happened? Does that person deserve to die? Should that person die? I think we need to reimagine what it is for police officers to respond. What's their job? What's the public safety repercussions? If a person has to balance the question of, do I want police assistance, but is that police assistance going to make it worse or even end up something tragic like this? That's a terrible decision to make. We don't want to disincentivize people who need assistance from police. And because I think calling the police is too dangerous.
And I think we heard some of that from Noble Ray in terms of how do we go forward here to try to facilitate that change that people want. We thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, okay.
Ian Meyn, thank you again for your perspective.